This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remus.
Hey, what is up, everybody, and happy Friday. Welcome to a packed edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily today. Andrew Paterson with you. Remus on the road. Connor will be joining me in a minute. And as I mentioned, it is a packed show. I'm just going to address the elephant in the room right away. I have good news and I have bad news. I will start with the bad news. We're not doing a marble race today. We are putting this together with Remus on the road. So I'm pretty sure we'll be doing it next week, 90%. But today, just logistics are going to make it impossible to do it. So I know I don't want to start a mutiny right out of the gate today on the program, but I'm just warning you now. I don't think we're doing marbles today. But the good news is you're all going to love Braden Yager. He is joining us later on today on the program. Of course, he was the topic yesterday on the program after the big 1-for-1 deal of 14th overall picks with the Jets sending Rutger McGroarty to Pittsburgh and the Penguins and Brayden Yager coming here to the Peg with the Winnipeg Jets. So Brayden Yager is going to join us a little later on. Of course, we got a huge game tonight at Princess Auto Stadium, trending to sell out. Beautiful day. If you've been outside today, it's absolutely gorgeous. What a day for some football. Ed Tait's going to join us from Princess Auto Stadium first up and tee up tonight's game. Mike McIntyre will join us, and the main focus will be on the trade yesterday and the latest on the Jets. But of course, Mike's also, I believe, out at Southwood following Dylan Sandberg, as well as all the other golfers participating in the Centerport Canada Rail Park Manitoba Open. If you are a golf fan, try to get out there this weekend. It is going to be great. The weather looks like it's going to be absolutely glorious. A nice place to suck a few cold ones back and see some incredible talent on the golf course. After Mike, we're going to welcome in Braden Yager, his first appearance on WST, hopefully the first of many. And then we'll finish it up with a little Hacksaw, NFL Notebook. Connor and I will then hit the lines and wrap up any other stories before getting ready to go do a little bit of tailgating today. So again, apologies for myself and Reem. No marble race today, but we'll make it up to you by having a great chat with Brayden Yager coming up a little later on. Listen, just before we welcome in Connor Hrabchak, don't forget CFL 110 is up and ready to go. We've got a game to talk about last night in the CFL. CFL 110 brought to you by Garage Living Winnipeg. Also want to thank the rest of our sponsors, Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Rollies Transfer, Manitoba Battery and Consolidated Supply, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, the Beer Can, along with Hoagie Boys, and next door on Sherbrooke, F Apparel, Wallace & Wallace, Canadian Club, Breezy Bend. Can't wait to get to the Bend tomorrow for a round. Aikens Lake, Assiniboia Downs, the Winnipeg Goldeyes, and we will get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. All right, let's get this show going on. Shout out to everybody in chat. Thank you for taking this news so well. Connor, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing great. Fired up for this football game tonight. Beautiful weather. It's going to be a sellout, like you said, or close to it at least. Another great crowd. And I'm looking forward to seeing the Bombers hopefully continue their winning ways, and excited to chat about this trade. I enjoyed the show yesterday with the initial reactions and Chevy's presser, and I'm excited to dive into that a little bit more. But fired up for this football game. Fired up to get to the Princess Auto tailgate, as you said, just right after the show here.
Yeah, exactly, folks. That Princess Auto tailgate does open at 5:30. $5 beers, $3.50 hot dogs, $3.50 pop, inflatables for the kids. I mean, if you're getting out, especially if you haven't been to a game yet this year, make it the full experience and get out there early. I mean, the area just continues to grow game over game over game. And tell you what, Connor, with the excitement around the recent turnaround for the Bombers in that incredible 2-game sweep of BC, I mean, I really think that we are going to have an absolute circus in the stands tonight in the north end zone. And hopefully the Bombers can keep going. And man, the Bombers got a very, very nice gift from the Toronto Argonauts last night. I was just saying this on the Lock Shop, and I hooked up with Dusty last night. He'll be calling the game on TSN. Like, every CFL game is insane. Like, that game last night, 3 separate goal line stands, like different drives being stopped at the one. And then Trevor Harris, I mean, for how incredible he played last week against Montreal, some really, really poor choices deep in their own territory, turning into picks, turning into points for Toronto. But listen, all anyone's talking about is taking over social media too, south of the border. The walk-off rouge. And listen, it couldn't have gone any better for me. I was high on the Riders going in. I had the Riders plus the points. We won our bet, and the Riders lost the game. I mean, it couldn't have gotten any better for me. And we got a walk-off rouge.
I don't know, man. I'm not as like, this is awesome. I'm not as eager to say that. Milt Stegall after the game was like, imagine a Grey Cup ending on a missed field goal. And then that kind of shifts my perspective. I was like, I was one of those, I was kind of ashamed that I forgot about the rouge. I was sitting there watching the game and he missed the field goal. I'm like, oh my God, he missed. We're going to overtime. And then they cut to the kicker and he's celebrating and pointing up at the sky. I'm like, why is he happy? Oh, right. There's the rouge. Unbelievable. Such a CFL way for a game to end.
He didn't miss by much. Can you imagine if he had hit the bar? Like that, that's right. That's the true craziness of the CFL. Like, that's the one thing that can happen where you don't get the point. And it did seem like he did not care if he made the field goal or not. Right. He was lining up and kicking that thing as hard as he could. So regardless of what happened, there would be no return. They would get that rouge and they would win 20-19.
Yeah. And again, if you're a Bomber fan, you're happy about that result. You don't care how Saskatchewan loses. They just lost. And if the Bombers are able to win tonight, we'll get into the lines later. I'm not sure how many points they're favored by now, but if they're able to win at home against Hamilton, they'll have 5 wins. Saskatchewan's at 5-1. And then setting up the Labor Day Banjo Bowl. Here we go. Game on in the West. I'm super pumped. And hopefully the Bombers are able to take care of business tonight and not, kind of take it lightly, given the fact Saskatchewan lost last night and the Labor Day Banjo Bowl is going to be so huge. Remain focused on the task at hand. I'm sure they will be. But these next couple games, September long, Labor Day weekend, and then the Banjo Bowl, I can't wait, because now that Saskatchewan's at 5 wins, this could decide the West at the end of the season. We could look back on these two games and say that was the turning point for either of these teams. So, the walk-off rouge, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I'm not going to sit up here and say they need to change it or anything like that. It is what it is.
Hey, listen, it definitely inspires hot takes on both sides. You know what? I'll put it to the folks in the chat. Here's our why not question of the day for not Autocorp but Waverly and McGillivray. Your thoughts on the rouge, winning a game on the rouge, fair or foul? Is it a bogus? Is it bogus, or is it just a very beautiful, unique part of the incredible history of the Canadian Football League? I tend to lean to the latter, but I do get that it's not the most beautiful way to win a football game. Just quickly to the standings right now, before we get to the more Jets talk. The loss for the Riders last night now puts them to 5-1 on the season. BC is 5-5. The Bombers can get to 5-6 tonight and be essentially a half game out of first place heading into the Labor Day. Connor, if I told you that was going to happen, I said, hey, what do you think the chances are when the Bombers were 2-6 going into back-to-back games against BC, that they could come out of the Hamilton game a half game out of first place? Would have seemed absolutely preposterous. And yet everything has broken the way the Bombers and the Elks, for that matter, who are very much back in this, although they've got a tough out this week going to Montreal. I mean, the entire division has flipped over the last month. And right now it's the Bombers with momentum. It's Edmonton with momentum. And a team that has absolutely no momentum is the Hamilton Ticats, who could very well be roadkill for this Winnipeg football team that's been rolling, especially on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, I think the past 3 weeks, like you said, have gone as perfect as you could have asked for if you were a Bombers fan looking to get back into the division, is making these games, again, don't want to look too far ahead over the task at hand tonight, but making the games on Labor Day and Banjo Bowl actually mean something. If they had lost back-to-back against BC and Saskatchewan had won one of those games, Bombers would be at 2-8, Saskatchewan would be at 6 wins. Even if you sweep it, you're still 2 games back. Doesn't really matter, right? These games now mean something, and you got some help from an Eastern team like Toronto, and you've gotten some help in the past couple weeks, but the Bombers are helping themselves in the biggest way with the wins against BC. And I liked what Derek Taylor said yesterday. The biggest thing I'm watching for tonight is the offense. The defense has proven a lot over the last 2 weeks. Look for them to keep that going, but Hamilton's defense, Chris Jones is doing volunteer work on the sidelines tonight. They've got to roll the Tiger Cats. Like this can't be a 23-3 win. Like the offense needs to put up a ton of points tonight because they've been able to move the ball in the games against BC. They just can't finish those drives. Sergio Castillo, as great as he's been, kicking too many field goals, if that's the way you want to look at it. I need to see more touchdowns going up on the board tonight against Chris Jones and the Hamilton Tiger Cats defense.
I'm with you. I want to see sixes. And listen, I just want to see this offense take another step, getting to another level. Like, will they need to be at another level to win this game? Probably not. They're going to need to be at another level to win next week in Regina. So you know what? Build off what you did against BC. You brought Kenny Lawler back. Nick Dembski was looking great. Brady Oliveira only touched the ball 10 times. I only had 10 carries last week, I think, for 78 yards. So, I mean, I do think that we'll see a lot more Brady. We'll get to that later on the Cool Bet lines. I'm eyeing his rushing prop tonight as something that I really do like. But anyways, it is a beautiful day for some football. Hopefully we'll see many of you down at Princess Auto Stadium tonight. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on what was a wild day yesterday. Again, thank you very much to the Winnipeg Jets. I don't know whether I must have made a good impression on the weekend doing my event with Chevy, but to have the trade go off in the morning before our show and then the availability at 3 p.m. was literally perfect for WST. So thank you, Brownie, everyone. That the timing of everything was perfect. And man, it sure gave a jolt into Jets fans' conversations last night. I mean, I don't know about your phone, but I mean, between the notifications, the inbox, texts from buddies, everyone was buzzing about this trade. A conclusion to the Rutger McGroarty saga and a new beginning with Braden Yager, who will join us later on today on the show. You're not going to want to miss that. Connor, what do you think about the work of Kevin Cheveldayoff, considering the situation?
Yeah, I liked what you guys said yesterday, where you said, "Welcome back, everyone." It's been a while. I don't know where everyone was, but the Jets make a trade, and now everyone is back tuning into WST. But anyways, the trade. I mean, given the circumstances, and I think Ken Wiebe said this yesterday in his conversation with you, given the circumstances, the public trade request, the fact that we are past the draft now, almost into next season, I thought Kevin Cheveldayoff did pretty well with this trade. You trade him for the 14th overall pick, a year younger. I'm super excited for Les Hood and I. We're going to do a deep dive on Braden Yager in the coming weeks. So learning more about the player himself, I'm really excited to do that. But given the circumstances, Rutger McGroarty not wanting to play here, and flipping him for a prospect of equal value. Maybe Rutger has a higher floor as a prospect at this point in his career. Obviously, he is a year older. He's had that extra year, but I like what he did. And again, it went over well in the chat that he's from Saskatoon and is around the prairies. And he's I can't wait to hear this conversation. I'm sure he's thrilled to be a Winnipeg Jet. And Cheveldayoff's presser was very, very interesting to me, especially the Rutger stuff. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the reasoning was just, it didn't feel right. And that was it. Like that was the most shocking news of the day for me. I was waiting to hear, what was it? Was it that playing time? What was it? And it just didn't feel right.
which is such a lame way. I mean, like Dave McCarthy had me on Sirius XM NHL radio this morning, and like he put this out. I felt the exact same way. But as we were talking about it, hearing Cheveldayoff, who, by the way, I know a lot of times Chevy takes heat for, standing up and saying a lot of things without saying anything. Very different yesterday. I mean, took the questions head on, with the exception of Billick trying to, needle him for what's going on with Cole Perfetti. Again, we're all on a need-to-know basis, and we'll know when we know. But Dave brought up, he said, like, the fact that, it's one thing to want out or to, think your situation's better suited elsewhere. But is it not in some ways a professional courtesy to let the people that have invested a lot in you know why you're making this decision? I mean, from a Jets perspective, if they had done something on a development level or, team-wise that had rubbed this guy the wrong way to the point he wants out before even signing a contract, I think you owe those people, reasoning, and they didn't get it. And unfortunately, this is a pattern.
Yeah.
Connor Hrabchak did the same damn thing to the Philadelphia Flyers. And, I remember after they made that trade, like it was a full court press, like the Philly president, the GM, the coach, everyone's doing interviews, basically saying, listen, we don't know. They wouldn't tell us, but they're not playing ball with us. So we had to make a decision and we move on. And we got Jamie Drysdale. And I'll be honest, even if you have no skin in the game, two of the most interesting games of the year, crowd-wise, are going to be Game 5 of the regular season for the Jets when Pittsburgh comes to town, afternoon game on October 20th. And it's always a big deal when Sidney Crosby comes to town. There'll be microphones in front of Sidney Crosby. Just wait till that media gathering gets in front of Rutger McGroarty when he gets here.
Yeah.
And the only thing that'll maybe be crazier than that is the circus that is going to be in what I expect to be a full barn that is going to do anything but bring a cordial welcome to Rutger McGroarty coming back. And the exact same thing is going to happen in Philly. I mean, we talked the second that Cutter Gauthier left. We know how psycho those Philly fans are going to be. They're going to let him know about it. And I'm thinking right now, like, I think Rutger, the way the fan base is going to react to Rutger is going to rival or maybe exceed Dubois, and I'm not kidding, Evander Kane. Like this one hurt a lot of fans just because, I mean, listen, the guy came in here and played the role. He said all the right things, charmed everybody, and then pulled this. That's going to be a long day for Mr. McGroarty, that trip. That trip. Who knows? Maybe they'll send him to the A for 2 weeks so he doesn't have to come to Winnipeg this year and then call him up right when the team leaves.
Well, could you imagine if he starts in the AHL? Oh my goodness. Because shout out Liz, I see she's in chat, but she was saying that the most shocking thing for her was the playing time comment where Marat asked Kevin Cheveldayoff, did you ever have a conversation with Rutger or his agent or his camp or anything about playing time or path to the NHL? Kevin Cheveldayoff, one sentence. We never had those conversations once. It was like,
not once.
What? That was the story, is like, they had an indifference on his path to the NHL. So that was really shocking to me. The second most, another shocking part of it was the fact that this started at development camp. Him and Barlow were running the social medias. They were all over the place, best bros, loving life. He was the star of development camp. That's when it didn't feel right. Like, I don't know. It's all just so, I left the presser with more questions than answers than I had before. It's just all so weird and shocking. And I don't think we've got the real story.
No, and listen, and I don't think the Jets have gotten the real story either. Much like the Philadelphia Flyers never got the real story. And listen, if we want to say, these are young, entitled American players, they're on that program, and whatever. I mean, people are going to feel that way. But the bottom line is, it certainly looked like Gauthier and his representatives conducted themselves in a way that I think most professionals would not. And I couldn't help but think the exact same thing about the way McGroarty and his camp have handled and treated the Jets, even if it was completely justified or that they just felt that, a different spot would make sense for them. Do you not owe it to be a little honest when you're talking about a move like that? Especially after how much, following them around, with their Jimmy Roy and Mike Keane, working with these guys throughout the year. And even like when he came on with us, everything seemed fine. We had him on after the World Juniors. So I will say this, if you go back and watch that second interview, or maybe third, I don't know, we've had him on a few times, but the one where he came on from Michigan afterwards, he did look a little exhausted. He didn't quite have that same sort of energy with us than he did before. But I sort of just chalked it up to this kid's been going like crazy for the last, he's been overseas, he's winning a gold medal, coming back, getting back to school. So I kind of chalked it up. Knowing what we know now and what Chevy said yesterday, it's actually a really interesting watch. Although, to be honest, if you want to know, why the hell is he coming on Winnipeg Sports Talk after winning the gold medal? Like, why don't you just say, oh, you know what, I'm back at school, I can't do it or something? There's a lot of things that don't make sense. But the bottom line is the Winnipeg Jets are getting a really, really exciting young player in Brayden Yager, who's 1 year younger than Rutger McGroarty. So that may mean another year of junior. But as you'll see coming up, this is a guy that is very excited to be a Winnipeg Jet, is looking forward to coming to camp. And the goal is to make the National Hockey League right now. And how beauty would that be if Yager was in the league to start the season and Rutger was in the American Hockey League? I don't think that's going to happen. And I would expect that you can get your vocal cords ready for a warm Winnipeg welcome on October 20th coming up. Overall, though, I know you've done a lot of digging and you guys are going to be putting a piece together. This was exactly what the Winnipeg Jets were looking for in a trade, a prospect of, in their minds, on that same level. Some will debate the ceiling or the floor for both of these players, but it does seem, as far as it goes, a pretty fair deal when you're talking about a 14th overall pick for a 14th overall pick. Both of these guys should turn into real quality NHLers, but it does seem like what we know now, and you'll hear from Braden Yager later on, a much better fit with this guy. And this goes back to the conversation that has been percolating for a while as to, and again, Chevrolet said that they draft players not based on passport, but on a number of other things, the player, the person that they are.
Totally.
Did they get burned by Rutger McGroarty? Maybe, but once again, Chevy turns a tough situation into something that I think can be a real positive going forward. And it's not like they traded an A prospect for a B prospect in this deal.
Yeah, I think the floor, like I said earlier, is definitely higher for McGroarty. He's a year ahead of Yager, so it's kind of unfair to compare him in that sense. But when we were talking near the draft as well, basically saying, if they're going to trade Rutger for a first round pick, you're looking in that maybe 10 to 18 range, somewhere in there, because that's where he went. He went 14th. He's 2 years ahead of development now, and he's played great. Like, you're looking for a middle first round pick. And now, 2 months removed, you get a player who has already been taken. Instead of at the draft, you trade for pick 13. That player's not making an impact for 3, maybe 4 years, maybe closer to 3. But Braden Yager is a lot closer to the NHL. I think their ceilings are pretty similar. Maybe Rutgers is a little bit higher as well. But again, this all has to be taken into context of the public trade request, the unwillingness to sign here in Winnipeg. When you take all of that into account, this is a good deal from the Jets' perspective. I just personally think still Rutger is a better prospect than Braden Yager. But again, he's a year ahead, so it'll be easier to compare in the next year. But again, you want players. Chevy didn't say it yesterday, but you want players who want to be here too. And that I think goes under the radar in a deal like this as well, because Braden Yager, I'm sure he'll say coming up in the interview here that he's excited to be a Winnipeg Jet.
Yeah, most definitely. I know there's a lot of people in the Moose Jaw and in PA and in Saskatoon that are pretty happy about this, probably starting with his folks, because it's a heck of a lot closer to come see him play in Winnipeg than over in Pittsburgh. Hey, shout out to our buddy Sam Crow. Sam Crow, thank you very much for the super chat. That is very nice of you. Enjoy the weekend, everyone. Go Blue. Papa needs a new Ticat skin rug for the clubhouse. Sam Crow, I think we'll serve one up for you around 10:30 tonight down at Princess Auto Stadium. The one thing, and again, we'll over the next week, I'm going to bring on a few more of the scouting guys. We'll grab Craig Button. Button really liked this deal moving forward. And again, being out in Calgary, I think he gets a chance to see quite a bit of Brayden Yager. But Yager was a player that was connected to the Jets in the draft in Nashville. He was gone by the time they selected. He's a center. And I hear what you're saying about Rutger's ceiling. I'm not sure that the ceiling of Yager isn't, in fact, higher than Rutger for a couple reasons. Number one, I mean, there is a concern about Rutger's foot speed. And, he's working with Barb Underhill or whatever. He's been doing that for the last 3 years. I mean, he has not turned into a burner. Now, listen, there's a lot of guys that are competitive, that have great hockey sense, that are battlers, that don't necessarily need to be burners. And I think Rutger's sort of in that category. But Yager, I mean, is a player that he's incredible shot, like he can score goals. But this is a guy that is a complete 200-foot player that, as we know, we always focus in on offense, and this guy certainly has that. But if he reaches his ceiling as a top 6 center in the league that can do it in both ends and score, we might be looking back and saying this ended up being a huge win for the Winnipeg Jets. Much like everything, ask me in 4 years. I mean, say, they won the trade, they didn't win the trade. But it really is a fascinating trade just on the basis of the same pick, back-to-back years, and, of course, some conclusion, if you will. Conclusion for the time being, although not until October 20th when the two teams meet.
Exactly. And I really like what you said there, and anyone declaring like a winner of the deal at this point, like there's really no point. These players are so young, they're prospects, they're both first-round picks. We will know the winner of this deal 6-7 years from now when they've played all this time for the teams and they've fully developed and all these things. But no matter what I think of the prospects in general, I'll say it again, backed into a corner like this, Cheveldayoff came out unscathed and came out with a player who was drafted just a year later in the same slot, took a big leap with Moose Jaw last year, 95 points in 57 games, 35 goals. Like there's a lot to be excited about, because I know myself personally and a lot of other Jets fans have just kind of taken Rutger out of the equation when talking about prospects. I did my prospect ranking videos, and a lot of people were wondering, like, would you include Rutger in there? Would you put him number 1? Would you put him number 2, even if he's not really a part of the Jets because he hasn't signed? But now, I mean, it's like adding another player to the prospect because Rutger wasn't there for the past couple months. So I really like what Cheveldayoff did here, and I'm excited to see what Yager can do in the coming months here.
Yeah, and we're excited to talk to Braden Yager a little bit later on in the program. Connor, we'll get you back in later on in the program. Thanks for joining me to kick things off. And again, Connor's going to be in with me pretty much all week next week as well, while Remus was away. We're going to talk football. Big game tonight at Princess Auto Stadium. We'll do that with Ed Tait in just a second. Again, don't forget, CFL 110 is up. If you haven't checked out this week's episode, do it today on podcast or over on the YouTube channel. It is brought to you by our friends at Garage Living Winnipeg. And, of course, the push is on, folks. If you want to get that garage completely made over into a functional, clean, organized garage before the snow flies, give Garage Living a call at 999-1234. They've had a great summer transforming dozens of garages in and around the city, and now they're gearing up for a busy fall as the push is on to get clients booked, garages designed, and installations complete before winter. Don't miss your chance to clear the clutter, organize, and beautify your garage with polyaspartic floor coating, made in Canada, premium metal cabinetry, and slat wall storage solutions, along with lift possibilities, so you can work on that car, the sled, in the warmth and comfort of a beautiful garage all winter long. Check out their website at garageliving.com for all their amazing work, and give our friend Pat Kanuga a buzz. He's loving his move from early morning radio guy to garage designer. You can get it, Pat, 204-999-1234 to book a free in-garage consultation or make an appointment to meet him in their showroom at 981 Main. Garage Living Winnipeg, garages made for living. If you and your family are on the move coming up this year, take the stress out of the move with the experts at Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving, family-owned for over 60 years. With an extensive logistics business that takes them throughout Winnipeg and southern Manitoba on a daily basis. They'll provide you flexible routes, flexible timing, and a great price and white glove treatment on your next move. Check them out online at rollies.com. Right in that top corner, you'll see the request a quote feature or request an estimate. Get on that. Let them know when you're moving, where you're moving, and what you're moving. You can even upload pictures of furniture and whatnot, and use the promo code WST because our friends at Rollies have a special discount on moving services and supplies for WST listeners. For your next move, make it Rollies, the most trusted name in moving for over 60 years. Hit them up at rollies.com today. Shout out to the gang at Consolidated Supply. They've had a great summer, and it is not over yet. If you have irrigation needs for your business or residence, no one does it better than Consolidated Supply, the leaders in irrigation systems, artificial turf. Golf Carts is the exclusive club car dealer in Manitoba, and other great options for your property, including hot tubs and amazing outdoor kitchen options. And of course, they're also the leaders in small engine parts and repair. Pop by and see them. Consolidated Supply at their showroom, open to the public, 1395 Niagara Road East, or you can check them out online at the revamped website at cte.ca. And just as we bring in Ed Tait, I'm not sure the Bombers are going to need a battery tonight. They'll be powered by 32,000 fans in the stands. But if you need power and batteries for your boat, your ATV, your camper, everything that makes the summer that much more fun, Manitoba Batteries got you covered, where you can shop local and get the best prices in town, beating the pants off the big box stores. And better yet, you can see them on Logan Avenue, their new location on Dover Court. But if you're pressed for time, give them a call or order online. They'll deliver it to you for free anywhere in the city with any purchase over $60 inside the perimeter. For all your battery needs, keep it local. Get the best deal in town at manitobabattery.com. All right. Bombers Ticats tonight. Let's get out to Princess Auto Stadium and welcome in our pal Ed Tait as the Bombers look to get to 5-6 within scratching distance of first place. Edward, what's up? How are you?
Awesome, fantastic. How are you, my friend?
Dude, I'm ready for a couple beers and I'm ready for a football game tonight down at Princess Auto Stadium. I got to tell you, Ed, listen, it has been well documented. This team had a brutal start to the season. They were 0-4. They got to 2-4, and then a couple games that were very much winnable didn't go their way. And you're sitting there at 2-6, going into back-to-back games against BC, thinking where might this be going? Where might this team be going into Labor Day? They could be a half game out of first place going to Regina. I mean, it's crazy how everything has fallen their way over the past 2-3 weeks of the season. And none of it would matter if they didn't take care of BC the way they did. But I thought it might take till the end of the season for the Bombers to be challenging for where they are right now. And yet we're not even at Labor Day, and this is where we're at.
Yeah, it really is wide open now, isn't it? It's funny because after that overtime loss in Toronto, everything was so dour and sad and, negative and, what's going to happen is, as this thing falling apart. And here we are, like you said, a couple wins later over the BC Lions. And it's just funny how the division, to be honest, has fallen back to them. I mean, you look at the top of the division now, Saskatchewan's in first place at 500. 5-5-1, and BC's right there at 500, and 4-6 doesn't look so bad right now, does it? Because the Riders are winless in 5, the Lions have lost 4 in a row. Calgary's not really scaring anybody, and the Bombers have the season series over Calgary and BC, and as you said, after this one against Hamilton tonight, and you got to take care of business. But then there's that annual back-to-back with Saskatchewan with the chance to claim the season series against them and move ahead of them. So it's just nuts how this is unfolded the way it has and as quickly as it has. As you said, I thought this would be a fight for a playoff spot right down to the end. And here we are. The team has a chance to move within a point of first place tonight. It's crazy, and I love it. That's what makes this league goofy and fun at the same time.
Well, and listen, Ed, you've covered this league for a long time. This has been an absolutely bananas season. I mean, every game is insane. Last night, a perfect example. 3 separate goal line stands leading to a walk-off rouge. I mean, all you can say is only in the CFL.
No, and it's funny because, there's been all kinds of consternation for all kinds of things, and Bomber fans certainly lived the command center issues a few weeks ago with that play that was a pick six, and it should have been a pass interference on the Nick Dembski incompletion. And then last night, now people are all upset about the rouge for the win, right? For Toronto. I thought it was kind of funny that Liram Haralau, who misses the field goal, it goes through for one, and he's putting his finger up like number one. Oh, come on, man. You got it done. But now people are complaining about a rule that's 100 years old. So this is what makes this league fun. And I have no problem with the rouge. And I'll be quite honest about this. I have no problem with the rouge, especially when it costs Saskatchewan a win and the Bombers have a chance to move within a point of first place with them.
Well, Ed, full disclosure, I was really impressed with the way Saskatchewan played last week against Montreal. And Brett Lowther had probably the worst game of his career. He missed 4 field goals. One of them gets returned 128 yards for a touchdown. And that ends up being the difference in the game. I mean, Trevor Harris was amazing last week, and they did it against a really tough Montreal defense. They deserved to win that game, but they didn't. And listen, it reminded me in a different way of the Bombers-Argos game earlier on this season. But I was really liking Saskatchewan going into last night's game. And I took the Saskatchewan plus 2.5, and we get to win the bet and have the Riders lose. I mean, it could not have worked out anyway. It's kind of like what's been happening to the Bombers in the standings the last little bit helped us too if you got on that side. So huge opportunity for the team coming into tonight's game. And as you mentioned, you can't look past any opponent. And listen, if the Bombers were sitting here at 8-1 or 7-2 or something like that, I could maybe see a bit of a letdown looking ahead to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But I think the position that this team put themselves in, the urgency that they've been playing, certainly against BC, I don't know. I don't see the Bombers letting the foot off the gas in this one tonight at all.
No, you hit on a couple things. First of all, you can't take Hamilton for granted because they've struggled defensively, but they got some offensive talent. And Bo Levi Mitchell, I know he's had some struggles protecting the ball this year, but he leads the league in passing, leads the league in touchdown passes, and he's still a guy that, he got his first ever win against Winnipeg back in 2013, and he lit them up. So I don't think any team that has him at the control should be taken lightly. And I've written this a couple times this week, Huss. When you're 2 games under 500 like the Bombers are, you don't go around thumping your chest. You don't take anybody for granted because you haven't earned the right to do so. As you said, if this team was 8-1 or 9-1, you'd be saying potential trap game, and whatever was coming out of the Bomber locker room that might sound like bragging, you'd say, well, they've earned it. There's none of that with this group right now, and it's because of the reality of a 4-6 record and the 0-4 start. Look, that doesn't mean that they don't have confidence right now, and they think they've got something going here and they can get on a run. But again, when you're 4-6, I don't think you're bragging too much, and I think that humility part might be a bit about what's driving this team right now too.
The one thing that's been consistent all year long is incredible support from the fan base. I mean, the games have been so much fun this year in the stands, even when the team wasn't playing at the championship level that we're accustomed to. I'm just checking it out right now. There ain't a ticket in the building available for this one, Eddie. We got a full sellout tonight at Princess Auto Stadium.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I was told just before I came on with you, Huss, that we were going to announce that at 1:30, so I guess we're right on schedule with that. The crowds have been amazing, and you know what it's like. Summertime at this building is spectacular, and there's a lot of people that come that probably leave the game and couldn't tell you what the score was, right? Because they're having so much fun in the tailgate area or at the Rum Hut, and it's just they're here to hang out. The team's on a good roll right now. Those wins over BC have kind of electrified things with the fans again. And if you think about it, this is the last game, I guess, of August of what I call the summer. And then we get the Banjo Bowl coming. That's already sold out too. So I credit the people upstairs that sell the tickets. I credit the football team for being consistent for so long. but it's fun. It's going to be a perfect night. And when the team's rolling like this, that makes it even more fun.
Well, and you mentioned, this era of Blue Bomber football, we kind of think about three key figures: Wade Miller, Kyle Walters, Mike O'Shea. But I mean, you'd be a perfect to say there's a lot of people doing great work behind the scenes that maybe aren't as known amongst fan bases that has contributed to all of this on the field and off the field. And, for the Ticats, I mean, they got humiliated last week by the Edmonton Elks. They were down 32-3 at home. I mean, Chris Jones is now on the sidelines right now. This is not, of all the places you wanted to be, trying to find your way back to being competitive, going up against an angry Bomber team that needs to make up for some mistakes earlier on in front of a rabid, well-lubricated, sold-out crowd at Princess Auto Stadium. I mean, it's a tough spot for the Ticats, but I mean, as you mentioned, this is a game that the Bombers have to take care of their business. But just back to that group of the three. Mike O'Shea and Kyle Walters made some CFL history recently, getting their 100th win together. It had never happened before. And I got thinking, Ed, and again, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because there's a big game tonight and we can't wait to get out to Regina next week. But there is a scenario where the Bombers win tonight, they get the W in Regina and come back, and Mike O'Shea would have the opportunity to become the winningest coach in Blue Bomber history in front of a sold-out crowd against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I mean, I can't think of a better or more appropriate way for this group to make history on that sort of a stage.
No, it's a great point, and wouldn't that be a hell of a story if that's what happened? And as you said, there's so many people that have their fingerprints all over this: the scouting staff, right through the football ops people, Darren Cameron and Matt Galacco, who do a great job here, the trainers, all that stuff. The thing about the 102, Bud Grant has the franchise record with 102 victories, and Mike's at 100 right now. When he took over, it wasn't great at the beginning. They had a lot to do to fix this thing. But I don't think anybody thought that we would be at this point now where he would be in the same sentence as Bud Grant. And that's no disrespect to Mike. It's just that the franchise was in such a bad way when those guys took over. And, I think of it now. I have been covering this team for a long time, and I think of the coaches that have come through here during my times. I started it with Mike Riley, then it was Darryl Rogers, then it was Cal Murphy coming back, and then it was Jeff Reinbold, Dave Ritchie, Jim Daly, Doug Barry, Mike Kelly, Paul Lapalisse, Tim Burke. It's been crazy. Yeah, it's been crazy how many people have come through the door here, and they were all searching to end the Grey Cup drought too. And Mike's got taken care of that, and now he's on the precipice of franchise history. That's just a pretty special group when you look at the list of, even in this league, of coaches that have had 100 wins in their career. And I'll have to check on this. I wonder if Mike O'Shea might be the first guy that could go into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame as a player and then as a coach too. I don't know if that's ever happened before. I'd have to double check that, but wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, no doubt. He's deserving of every accolade, but in typical O'Shea fashion, he probably is thinking about this and certainly won't have anything to say. But as far as this game tonight goes, let's talk a little bit. Just fill us in on the lineup. It seems like the Bombers are kind of getting about as healthy as they've been all year, despite the fact that a guy like Dalton Schoen's out for the season.
Yeah, the big one for tonight is that Adam Bighill is out, and we saw in the game last week in BC. I think he got hurt in the first quarter on pass coverage. So Shane Gauthier is going to slide in and play middle linebacker. I wrote a little piece about him today on our game day story. I really like Shane. He's a good dude. He's a good story as a guy that's just kind of stuck it out. And when he came to Winnipeg, he could barely speak English, and he's really comfortable in his role on this team. And so that's what's going to be interesting. And I say that kind of hesitantly, that he's going to be the middle linebacker, because Jordan Younger plays so many different schemes and offers so many different looks. there will be times when Shane Gauthier is the middle linebacker and it'll look like a traditional 12 out there playing defense. But then there's other times when there's 3 defensive linemen and 9 DBs on the field. There's 2 safeties. There's, guys blitzing from all over the place. And I think that's what's starting to make this defense more and more special as it becomes difficult to figure out what they're doing. So you mentioned the changes, Huss. That's a big one with Adam Bighill out of the lineup. Fabian White's a global linebacker who they took in the global draft, will make his CFL debut tonight. Bailey Feltmate, fullback, comes back. You're right. As aside from the injured list is still long, but this is as good as it's been for a while. And, you talk about getting healthy. I thought Kenny Lawler, even though his numbers were kind of modest last week, I don't think it's any coincidence that he comes back and all of a sudden Nick Dembski has his first 100-yard receiving game of the season, because number 89 gets a lot of attention, and that can only free up more people out there. It's a really interesting roster, Huss, because here we are talking about getting close to first place, and yet that 0-4 start and all the injuries has given all kinds of young players a chance to get playing time, and they've already started to benefit. We're starting to see the results of it. You think of a guy like Pokey Wilson and Tywin Garbett and Celestin Haba at defensive end. All those guys are getting this work as this team was treading water for the longest time, not even treading water in that 0-4 start. And I think that's going to benefit them well as we go forward here into September and October, November.
Well, this 7:30 can't come soon enough, or maybe 5:30, just to get the tailgate going, and then we'll really get into the night. But it should be a great one. And Ed, just quickly on the way out, we talked a little bit about the start of the team. 2 huge wins. I mean, you mentioned Jordan Younger, Connor Hrabchak, who's doing our WST Weekly, does his 3 stars of the week, and I think he gave Jordan Younger the first star a couple of weeks ago after that shutout of BC. But there's still a lot of work to do. What has been the sort of the mood around the team coming out of these 2 wins against BC? Because they have been really significant wins, but again, the team's still in 4-6, and there is a ton of work left to do.
Yeah, I think that's sort of been the message right there, Huss, is that I keep saying it, that I don't think anybody's bragging around here because you've been so used to winning for so long. Let's face it, a 6-4 record at this point with this team's history wouldn't have been too tasty for anybody back there. So when you're 4-6, they realize they got a lot of work to do yet. I think what's happened, though, again, those wins over BC, there's nothing that gets you galvanizes everybody and gets a team pointed in the right direction mentally than a couple of wins like that over an arch rival. All that hype about Nathan Rourke last week, and to go in there and get it done in front of 30,000 people in Vancouver. This team's feeling pretty good about itself right now, and it's earned that. But they're not bragging at all because, again, 4-6 doesn't scare anybody. But in the West Division, 4-6 gets you in the fight. And I think now what these guys want to do is keep that pedal jammed down on the gas and go right to the end.
You know it. Eddie, thanks so much for doing this. I hope that we can connect at some point next week, and maybe even connect for a Colton and Regina next week. Cannot wait to get out to the Labor Day Classic, but let's get this win tonight and get ready for the most fun weekend of the year in the Canadian Football League regular season. Have a good one, dude. Thanks again.
Right on. Sign me up for the beer in Regina, Huss, but let's get through tonight first.
Yeah, you got it. There's Ed Tait. If you waited on tickets, sorry, you snooze, you lose. It's sold out. Next 2 games sold out for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and it is going to be a scene tonight down at Princess Auto Stadium. We're going to flip from the Bombers to the Jets. Brayden Yager coming up in a little bit. We're going to have Mike McIntyre join us right away. But as we mentioned, Princess Auto Tailgate gets going at 5:30. $5 beers, $3.50 poppin' hot dogs. It is the place to be before every Blue Bomber game. And, of course, Princess Auto, proudly founded and headquartered right here in Winnipeg, and a huge sponsor of the Bombers and a big supporter of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Pop by and see them in store, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West. And you can always shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. Well, now that this game is officially sold out, they better have taken my advice and upped the supply of Canadian Club for the game tonight. I have a feeling this will be a well-lubricated crowd and people having a good time. And listen, nothing like Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey on a beautiful summer day, or maybe Canadian Club and Ginger Ale. You can pick that up at the game tonight if you want something a little different than beer. It is an amazing summer drink, ice cold in cans, ready to go. You can have that at the game tonight, along with Canadian Club and the Beam Suntory family of spirits, available throughout the stadium. And next time you're popping into your local beer store, take a look, because CC and Ginger's available there as well. And of course, all the products available at Manitoba Liquor Marts. Gang, if you have fencing needs, you know where to go. And that's Wallace & Wallace, synonymous with excellence and the leaders in fencing and overhead doors since 1946 here in Winnipeg. If you need the security and protection of a new fence, or if winter did a number on your old one, give them a call, because they've got vinyl, ornamental, welded wire, chain link, or wood fences. And if you need a new garage door to match your home, they've got the largest selection of overhead garage doors in Manitoba. Give Wallace & Wallace a call, 204-452-2700. Their team will arrange a time to come out and give you a free estimate. You can also visit them at wallacefences.com, or pop down to their showroom on Lawson Crescent, just off of Keniston. As we bring in Mike McIntyre, we're talking Labor Day. We're talking Jet season just around the corner. If you're looking ahead to the fall and realize that you need to up your menswear game, don't wait. Get on down to F Apparel ASAP. Custom suits beginning at $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and an incredible selection of menswear accessories. If you're getting married or in a wedding party, make sure to talk to the fellas at F at a 15% discount when the wedding party gets their suits at F Apparel. They're down at 190 Smith Street. Pop in and see them, or find out more online and make an appointment to come in for a fitting at F. That's EPHapparel.com. All right, on location at Southwood for the Centerport Canada Rail Park Manitoba Open, Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press joins us now. Mike, what's going on? How is it out on the course today?
You know, Huss, if you had told me back when I was sitting front row in the courthouse all those years covering crime and justice, that one could spend an entire day at the golf course and it would be considered work, I would have probably bailed on the crime and justice beat much sooner, which is to say it's tremendous down here. You could not get a better day weather-wise. It's sunny. I know the players are loving it because there's almost no wind out here. The course was softened up a bit yesterday with the rain and storms we got in the morning. I guess the only complaint here, Huss, is that the weather has wreaked havoc a little bit with the scheduling. They had a 2-hour delay yesterday in the morning because of the rain, and then this morning they were going to get caught up. Some players were actually just finishing round one this morning, but they had another 2+ hour delay because of the fog that rolled in. So there's a good chance that the second round may actually spill over into tomorrow morning. But there is some just tremendous scoring that's happening out here. You look at the leaderboard right now. The projected cut is sitting at -5. That actually could move at some point, maybe as low as -6. So there's going to be some guys who don't get to play the weekend despite, playing some pretty good golf. But that's what happens, typically at Southwood, especially if the wind isn't blowing. Guys can go really low. And I think what we all knew already, Huss, it is for sure. And these guys are good, right? These are great players. You just have to look at the guy that won this tournament last year, Hayden Springer, who's now full-time on the PGA Tour. And, he went and shot a 59 earlier this summer at the John Deere. So, again, there's an example. A guy that was on this tour a year ago is now basically setting records, pretty historic round on the biggest stage of them all in golf. So I love covering this event. It's a highlight of every summer for me, and certainly shaping up to be a really fun weekend here at Southwood with a crowded and very talented leaderboard.
Yeah, listen, if you are a golf fan, get out there this weekend. Listen, the weather's going to be gorgeous, and you're going to see some incredible golf. Riggs Johnson and Neil Shipley, co-leaders right now at 12 under par. I'm just quickly mentioning a couple people that we're very keen on seeing how they do. Braxton Kuntz of Breezy was 73 yesterday, but he's 3 under through 6 holes today. He's got it to 2 under He probably knows
Yep.
that he's going to need to go low to stick around for the weekend. So we'll be pulling for Braxton. And as we kind of transition over to Jets talk, let's talk about the Jets in the tournament quickly. Dylan Sandberg, very impressed with his 74 yesterday. He's having a bit of a tougher time right now, 5 over through 7. But a 74 at that course, playing against that sort of competition as a sponsor's exemption. He's on pace to maybe have the best numbers of any of the Jets that have competed in this tournament recently.
Well, he's already obliterated the single round record for Winnipeg Jets, Huss, and he will, I suspect, be bringing that up time and time again, especially when he's around Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, and Morgan Barron. Those are the 3 Jets who have previously played in this event. Mark Scheifele's played it twice. So if you're keeping track of the Jets leaderboard, Mark Scheifele was the clubhouse leader coming into this week with a 78. That's 6 over par. That was his best round 2 years ago. He followed that up with an 84. Morgan Barron would have been in second place. He had an 80 in his first round last year. I believe he was then 86 in his second round. And Kyle Connor would have been bringing up the rear. Kyle Connor, who played in 2019, much tougher conditions that year. The wind was blowing a lot. Kyle Connor's best round of his 2 was 90, 18 over par. So again, to recap, the 2 best scores coming into this week was Mark Scheifele at 78, Morgan Barron at 80, and Dylan Sandberg goes out and fires a 74. So he beats Mark Scheifele's single record by 4 strokes, and then we'll see what he does here in round 2. If he can beat Mark Scheifele, has the best cumulative, if you will, with that 78-84. But he's certainly on track to do that. And Huss, I watched a little bit of Sandberg yesterday. Watching him play golf is kind of like watching him play hockey. He is just quietly really good and efficient. Like there's nothing flashy about him, but and how many times do we watch Dylan Sandberg in a game where you come out of the, at the end of the game, you're like, man, Sandberg was really good. And you can't necessarily pinpoint, one play or one thing that happened. He just all around quality. I will say this though, and there's been a lot of talk here at the course about Sandberg. He's opened some eyes. He's playing with a couple of pros, of course, because he's one of him and Braxton are, I think, really the only 2 amateurs in this on sponsors exemptions. I didn't see it with my own eyes yesterday, but I'm told that there were a few holes yesterday where he outdrove his professional playing partners, which he just like every now and then he'll unload a bomb from the blue line. Well, he can also bomb it on occasion off the tee, and he's certainly, I think we all recognize how tough golf is, and to see a guy like Dylan Sandberg, as great as he's doing, he's still in second last, I believe, right now. That just shows you the quality of the field. But again, based on the standard that had been set by previous hockey players, he is exceeding expectations, that's for sure.
And just by the way, really enjoyed the article you had with about Andrew Kopp's brother, Tyler Kopp, who's there. And it's just some people in chat asking about him. He was 71 yesterday. He's 2 under right now and 3 under for his round through 7 holes. So, I mean, all those guys that are in that -2, -3, they got to have big back 9s to get to probably 6 to be safe to be playing on the weekend. But Mike, let's get to it. I mean, we thought it might be a quiet week for hockey news. It often is. Far from it. We had the offer sheets and everything happening with Edmonton earlier. And then just before the weekend, we get news seemingly out of the blue. And I don't know, maybe that's because all the insiders and whatnot are on holidays. But the Rutger McGroarty saga is over in a 1-for-1 deal. 14th overall pick for 14th overall pick. And Braden Yager, the WHL champion Moose Jaw Warriors, coming to Winnipeg. What was your reaction when you first heard the news? And now digging a little bit in more, what do you make of the trade?
Well, we also had the Patty Laine trade, which this might be the craziest third week of August we've ever had in the NHL, right? Typically, dog days of summer, and like you said, offer sheet, and not just at one, double offer sheet, and all the drama with that. Patrick Laine on the move, and then now the McGroarty Yager swap. And yeah, I mean, look, I think we knew that at some point Rutger McGroarty was going to get traded. That seemed inevitable, but as the summer wore on, and as we got further away from the NHL draft, where I think a lot of us thought it was going to go down, and by the sounds of it, Huss, everything we've heard, and Kevin Cheveldayoff kind of confirmed yesterday that they came close at the draft. But I think we all just thought, okay, well, this gets parked, this gets shelved for a while, maybe all the way to like the trade deadline. He could be a chip, and that he'd just go back to Michigan, play this season as he had intended. But then boom, the move comes, and obviously Rutger McGroarty is not going to go back to Michigan. He's going to get his wish, which is to turn pro immediately. We'll see if he is in the NHL lineup right off the hop. Wouldn't it be something if the Penguins decide that he needs some AHL seasoning? I'm not sure how that would play. I don't.
2 weeks of AHL seasoning, so he doesn't have to come to win on October 20th.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine the Penguins have made him any guarantees. That would be insane to me. But I don't know what happened with discussions. Clearly, the Penguins only made the trade for him yesterday, knowing that he was going to sign with them, because and I think I was on your show earlier this summer, and I mentioned, Huss, there was at least one trade, and there may have been others that looked like they were close to happening that fell through. And I think a big part of that was the other team was reluctant to pay what they were going to have to pay to get Rutger McGroarty, based on what they were hearing from his camp. And there were some reservations there. Obviously, the Penguins didn't have those reservations. They were willing to give up their best forward prospect for, I think, I don't even know if it's arguably, I think Rutger McGroarty would be Winnipeg's top forward prospect. But this is one of those really rare trades you just don't see very often. And, Huss, like, I know there's always a rush. Everyone wants to hand out trade grades like within minutes of a trade happening. And that's always a bit of a fool's game to play. And even when you're talking NHL players, it's even more fraught with risk now. When you're talking about two guys who, haven't played a single game yet in the NHL, but this is fascinating on so many levels. And this will be one of those trades that we're talking about for years to come, as we watched these two players, become whatever they become in the NHL. And I love it. I think it's a great, I think on paper, this has the potential to be a win-win for both teams. Rutger McGroarty didn't want to sign with Winnipeg. And in a way, the Jets were boxed into a bit of a corner, not unlike the way they were with Pierre-Luc Dubois a little bit. And as mentioned, as great of a player or prospect as Rutger McGroarty is, I don't think Kevin Cheveldayoff had all 31 teams banging down his door with offers, because I think there are some teams that had some real reservations here. So you're now dealing with maybe a more limited pool of trade options. And for Kevin Cheveldayoff to turn a 14th overall pick into a 14th overall pick that's actually a year younger, that plays center as opposed to wing, that has already signed his entry-level contract, so there's no concerns there. And don't discount Huss, and I had a great chat earlier today, and I know you're going to be talking to him, to Braden, but the fact he's from Saskatoon, and there's a lot of very happy people right now just to our west, family members, friends, billet families, you name it, that are thrilled that this kid from Saskatoon is now a product of the closest NHL team to their city. And there's a lot of excitement there. And for all those people that have been saying, the Jets need to stock their prospect pool with some more homegrown talent, well, they've got one now. And they've got a guy that looks like he, projects certainly to be a really, really good player in this league.
Yeah, listen, there's no doubt. And again, if you just popped in late, Brayden Yager is going to join us in about 10, 15 minutes or so here on the program after we finish up with Mike. Well, I mean, we're going to move forward and we're going to be excited about Brayden Yager and following him and seeing him at training camp and what he can do. But I mean, Chevy's press conference was really interesting. And I mean, he said all along he would address this when the time was right. This was the time. And I'm interested to ask you this, Mike, because you, more than any member of the media, covered Rutger. You went to the Frozen Four. You talked to the family of people around it. It was kind of stunning to hear that their camp basically straight up took the page out of the Cutter Gauthier book and just said, we're out. Yeah. No reason for it. Cheveldayoff was obviously frustrated yesterday when he spoke to it. And I imagine everyone in the organization was. I can tell you the fans were as well, you know, with the way this went down. And like, listen, I think there's a lack of professional courtesy in maybe not explaining why they're doing what they're doing. But right. I mean, you were around this. Were we just getting snowed all along by a guy that's really good in the media and a bunch of people around them that said, oh, say this, and then did the exact opposite outside of a camera?
Yeah, we did get snowed, Huss, and I'll put myself in that camp as well. Like I feel like I got duped here. And I mean, look, who cares what I think, but you know, my newspaper, we invested a lot of resources to send me down there to go cover in depth this really exciting prospect that took development camp by storm, that was the darling of development camp, that you know, seemed to absolutely relish every chance to meet fans, pose for selfies, sign autographs. And to hear Kevin Cheveldayoff say yesterday that Rutger McGroarty and his agent told them that it was actually at development camp in 2023 when he pulled on the jersey that, quote, it just didn't feel right. Like, where did that come from? And, you know, give an Academy Award to everybody involved in this saga. And, you know, I look back, like I reposted my feature I did on McGroarty, and I got a few people tweeting at me saying, well, a lot of this didn't age well. And I would agree. But again, you know, I can only report what I was being told and also what I was seeing, what I was hearing, what I was feeling. And so this, just as Kevin Cheveldayoff, you know, it certainly sounds like he was bamboozled by all of this. Like, I get that, because I kind of feel the same way. Like, I thought I knew this player a little bit. I thought I knew the family. I thought I knew the people around him. And yet to now hear all this coming out after the fact, which was obviously, you know, kept very private, internal. If this is how they really feel, it's actually remarkable to me that that they said and did some of the things that they said and did. Like, it flies completely in the face of everything now we're hearing behind the scenes. So yeah, like, quite frankly, that was the most interesting part of yesterday's news conference. And if you would have asked me before, like, what do you think we're going to hear from Kevin Cheveldayoff? I thought we'd hear something way more tangible. The fact that he says he's tried to get more answers, including like a face-to-face with Rutger McGroarty, and he still really won't say what the issue is here. And then addresses the development thing head on, because I think that's what we all thought this was about. For Kevin Cheveldayoff to say that we never even had that conversation with him about his development, or we didn't say to him, you might have, like, so were they just presuming certain things, or I don't know. And so I guess the next shoe to drop, Huss, at some point here, I suspect Rutger McGroarty will be speaking, at least with the Pittsburgh media. I haven't been sort of up to my eyeballs in golf stuff today, so I haven't seen if that's happening today. But all I'll say, though, whatever gets said, take it with the biggest grain of salt you can find, because I don't know if what we hear is really going to offer
call, Mike. We need you in that Zoom call.
Yeah. Well, I will be keeping my eyes open.
Quotes. Read a few of his quotes, like that he said to you face to face on a number of occasions.
It would be like right out of Law and Order, like where the attorney has the star witness on the stand and they're reading back previous testimony. you'd get the gung, the Law and Order moment. Look, maybe I'll get a chance to ask him. I think the Penguins are here on October 20th, right? And
Oh yeah.
mark that one down.
5 games
Now,
into the season. 5 games into the season. And listen, just on that, Mike, I've got a pretty good pulse of the fan base, I think. Doing this every day, talking to people. Obviously, it's always a conversation wherever I'm at. I think Rutger McGroarty has surpassed Pierre-Luc Dubois and, dare I say it, even Evander Kane in the 2.0 villains list. And I am predicting an absolute circus on October 20th when the Pittsburgh Penguins come to town.
Will you be the ringleader of that circus, Huss?
Oh, well, we did joke that, someone said, I wonder if the Jets will be doing a tribute video for Rutger, and said, well, game production won't, but I'll tell you what, Winnipeg Sports Talk is going to do a tribute video, a whole bunch of all the bullshit that he said over and over to all the Winnipeg media, to us as well.
Just run
We're
a
gonna
montage.
put our little Rutger compilation for that right around the 20th of October.
Yeah, just run a montage of clips from my article, because I still can't fathom this. Like I was sitting with Rutger McGroarty's mother for like an hour in the stands while Michigan was practicing, and she could not stop talking about how respectful the Jets organization was, how Mark Chipman had called the family to check on Rutger after he got hurt, how Jimmy Roy sat with Rutger in the hospital because he was at the game when Rutger was stretchered off the ice, how he then had dinner with the family once Rutger got released from the hospital, how respectful they've been in giving him his time and space as they were on this playoff run, and not pressuring him for any kind of answers about, whether he was going to sign once the college season ended. Like, I just can't understand it at all. I really can't, other than to repeat something I think I told you earlier this summer, which, like, I left St. Paul that week thinking he's got a lot of people around him. Like, in addition to his immediate family, there's a lot of people in his ear, a lot of advisors, a lot of other hockey dads of other college hockey players, and the Frozen Four. Like, they were all there that weekend, right? Like, they're all there. That's the Super Bowl. That's the Stanley Cup of college hockey. And so I got to spend a little bit of time and, hear and see things. And all I could think is that he's got a bunch of people either in his ear, in his parents' ears, telling them a bunch of stuff. And I don't think it was, great. I don't think he was getting great advice. But look, he's a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins now. Looks like a good landing spot for him. We'll see what the Penguins do with him out of training camp. Maybe they'll put him on Sidney Crosby's wing, or maybe they'll send him to Wilkes-Barre, and then that would be quite the drama, I suspect. But we'll be watching.
Yeah, maybe they give him a couple weeks in Wilkes-Barre, as I mentioned, just for the first 2 weeks of the season to avoid a certain road game here. And listen, I mean, like, and I feel like just now that what we know from the Winnipeg Jets and see the way this has gone down, I mean, it just seems like a carbon copy of the Cutter Gauthier mess with the Philadelphia Flyers that ended up with him being traded to the Anaheim Ducks. And I mean, it didn't matter whether you had any skin in the game. I mean, obviously the Philadelphians were irate about the whole thing, but everyone in that organization was as well. And it really did seem like in that situation, his management, his agent, I mean, they handled it in a real Bush League manner. And to be honest, that is the exact feeling I think most people are looking at this after hearing what Kevin Cheveldayoff had to say yesterday. Just to not even be given the professional courtesy of an honest answer as to why this is. I mean, it's a really bad look. But again, in sports and entertainment, we love heels. We love heroes. Rutger's going to be a heel here in Winnipeg, probably forever. But at the same time, I think fans are going to absolutely love Braden Yager, and he'll be even more popular, I think, right out of the gate because of who he is and who he came here for. And As he said, we're going to talk to him in a few minutes. I know you've spoken to him.
Yeah.
Really, really impressive young man, and a guy that, projects to be a pretty damn good NHLer as well.
Yeah, and he's genuinely excited. And again, I'll probably now always be more cautious when any player tells me they're excited about playing in Winnipeg, because I feel like kind of got torched on the McGroarty one. But given where he calls home, Saskatoon, and he, as he mentioned to me, he's watched the Jets a lot over the years. It was pretty cool. He said that Mark Scheifele, Adam Lowry, and Josh Morrissey all texted him yesterday and made him feel welcome. That's your leadership group there for the Jets. Just one thing on McGroarty that I'll just end it with. Interesting that you mentioned Cutter Gauthier, Huss. When I was doing that feature and, just getting to know the family a little bit and whatnot, Cutter Gauthier and the Gauthier family came up. The McGroartys are close with the Gauthiers. Rutger and Cutter are very close as well. So I guess read into all that what you will.
Oh, man. Well, we move on. We turn the page, at least until the 20th of October. We'll look forward to having Brayden Yager in training camp, and really looking forward to having him on the show in just a minute. Mike, have a good time running around Southwood. It should be a great weekend down for the Manitoba Open. We'll look forward to catching up again with you next week. Put some sunscreen on and have a great weekend.
You bet, Huss. Yeah, I don't want a repeat of what happened to you in Vegas during the draft.
Exactly. Take it easy, dude. There's Mike
Right
McIntyre. Of course, a big shout out to the weekend is here, gang. And we got a big game tonight at Princess Auto Stadium. We got 30 degrees for Saturday and Sunday. It might be the last one of the summer, but let's make it a good one. And you know what can really help out that little brown jug.
We're not just for the showboats or the champions. We're here for the good ones. The ones who work hard and show up for others, not to get recognized, but because it's the right thing to do. We'd like to think that our good intentions show up in our beer. We keep working to perfect it, not because we want fame or fanfare, but because you deserve it. 1919, the good you deserve.
Yes, I'd say it's going to be 1919 o'clock at about 3:30 this afternoon, and certainly at 5:30 for folks that are getting ready for that big Bomber game tonight. Another great place to have a 1919 or all of your favorite local beers is down at the Beer Can, and this is beer can weather, if there ever was any. If you haven't popped by the biggest and most beautiful, best outdoor beer garden and restaurant in town, what are you waiting for? Check it out this weekend, adjacent to the Granite Curling Club, just over the Osborne Bridge. And next weekend, on Labor Day weekend, they're actually doing a boxing event there. We'll have more information on that next week on Winnipeg Sports Talk. And of course, you want some more great eats from the Cosmos dudes. You can get that at Next Door in the heart of Wolseley at 116 Sherbrooke, next to Good Neighbor Brewing. And of course, the biggest, baddest sandwiches in the city at Hoagie Boys on South Osborne. Hockey season is here, and if you need sticks, equipment, everything to get you ready for the new season, for players of all ages, Royal Sports has you covered. One trip to Royal is all you'll need to get ready for the season, with the biggest and best selection of hockey equipment in town. And of course, hockey players working there to get you the best fit and the most logical equipment for your level of play, and obviously age groups as well. It's all there at Royal Sports. Get ready to drop the puck with Royal. And of course, all the licensed gear coming in as well for NFL season. And well, who knows, maybe some Yager jerseys being sold earlier at Royal Sports early in the season as well. 750 Pembina Highway. And of course, you can follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. And hey, if you're on the outside looking in and don't have a ticket for this Bomber game tonight, you are out of luck, but the next best place to get together with the gang to watch the game is your local Boston Pizza, ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, and the pizza sale right now, celebrating their anniversary. All their medium pizzas, just $19.64 right now at BP. So make it BP tonight for 7:30 kickoff with the game on the big screens with big sound. And if you are staying at home, you can always order online at bostonpizza.com. All right. Hacksaw coming up a little later on. Again, if you pop by earlier, if you got here later, I should say, we do have bad news. We're not doing a marble race today. We'll try and make it up for you next week. But the good news is that the talk of the town yesterday, and probably will be continuing going into training camp, the newest member of the Jets organization, Brayden Yager, joins us fresh off being traded to the Peg yesterday. Braden, welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Probably a pretty crazy last few hours for you. Tell us about how your day started and when you heard the news that you were on the move to the Peg.
Yeah, it was kind of just a normal day. Woke up, went to workout, kind of around like 10:30. I was kind of nearing the end of my workout, and I saw that I missed a call from Kyle Dubas, and he texted me saying, call me kind of as soon as possible. And so I phoned him, and he kind of let me know that I'd been kind of involved in a trade. And yeah, pretty crazy, kind of shocking. You never kind of expect to get traded, especially kind of at this age. But yeah, I know once I found out it was Winnipeg, obviously super excited. Canadian team, and parents were super excited, nice and close to home. So yeah, crazy day.
What was the first contact you had from the Winnipeg Jets, and how did that go?
Obviously, Chevy called me, and he kind of welcomed me first, and he said it's nice to have some Sask blood in the Jets organization. And then Mark Scheifele texted me, and Josh Morrissey also texted me, which is pretty cool. And obviously had quite a few phone calls with trainers and player development and other guys. And so yeah, it's been a long day, but it's been a good one. So
well, I can tell you that from the Winnipeg Sports Talk show on Thursday, the fan base very excited to move forward with you in the mix. For folks that have heard your name, we obviously saw you get picked 14th overall by the Pittsburgh Penguins at the draft, but haven't seen you. Tell us a little bit first about your background. You mentioned you're a Saskatchewan kid, probably not too far from where Chevy grew up. Give us a little bit about your background and getting involved in hockey at a young age before moving on to the WHL.
Yeah, so my first 10, 11 years was in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. And kind of funny, it was actually during, while Josh Morrissey was playing on the Raiders. I had season tickets to those games, so I got to watch, him and Draisaitl, play, and they were obviously, pretty nasty. And, I actually got to do a fun skate. Morrissey and Draisaitl came out to one of my practices when I was younger, and so that's pretty cool. I still have pictures of it, so pretty cool. And then we moved to Saskatoon, just I think better hockey opportunity to continue the growth, and obviously more kids. And yeah, I think ever since then we've been in Saskatoon, and obviously watching guys like Draisaitl and Josh Morrissey and in the WHL kind of just makes the decision pretty easy to choose that path. So yeah.
Did you tell Josh when he called you that you were back as a fan of him when he was a big wheel back in PA in the Dub?
No, I haven't. He just recently texted me, so I'll get back to him, and I might have to send him the picture. But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Being a Saskatchewan kid, then you end up playing in Moose Jaw, and obviously having a great career so far. Started really early with that. How old were you when you got into the league in 2021? Were you even 16 at that point?
No, it was during the COVID year, actually. Our 05 group was actually pretty fortunate. During COVID, our midget teams all got shut down, and so I think it was like one or two players from every Dub team's like prospects could come up and play the year, and I ended up playing all the games in the bubble year that year. So yeah, I was 15 years old, I think, or I might have just turned 16. So yeah, I was pretty fortunate for us, 05s to kind of get a little head start on kind of our rookie seasons.
Well, I mean, it obviously did you well because you had just an awesome first full complete year in the WHL, and continued to grow all the way to a pretty magical year for your club last season. Tell us a little bit about the junior experience, and in particular last year with what you and the Moose Jaw squad was able to accomplish, winning the WHL and going to the Mem Cup.
Yeah, it's I've been so fortunate, to be a part of Moose Jaw organization. They've played such a huge role in my development, and I mean, the run that we had last year was pretty special. All the ups and downs, and going through adversity, and I think kind of the best part is how we kind of grew up together as a team since the COVID year, and obviously losing twice in a row in the playoffs, and then coming back and kind of pushing through that hump of the second round and ending up winning the league was really cool, and something I think our whole organization will never forget.
Well, a pretty incredible 12-month period for you. I mean, you hear your name called by the Penguins. You're picked 14th overall at the draft. In a draft where, on this program, we had many scouts come on and kind of tied you to Winnipeg. You weren't available for Winnipeg when they made their pick, and they, of course, got Colby Barlow, who's got a bright future. But coming off that, I'm sure you do the development camp, you do training camp, and then get back as, a real leader on your club, have your best season in junior hockey, and then go all the way to the championship. I mean, just speak to your growth as a player over the last year individually, as well as how the winning a championship in the WHL helped you prepare you for the next step as a pro.
Yeah, it was a long year, and like I said, it's the group of guys that we had made it so much fun, and starting back to the COVID year, we all kind of coming in there as young bucks, and then kind of growing up together, and obviously building up for this past year, and it was crazy. I mean, for development, the coaching staff there, and the players, obviously it's helps so much when you play with good players and you can practice with good players every day, and when it's fun to go to the rink every day, it makes it a lot more fun. So that's a lot of credit to the Warriors organization and the players there, and getting to play the World Juniors this year and represent your country is always a huge honor, and then going back to Moose Jaw and doing something pretty special is it was pretty incredible.
Well, you brought up the World Juniors. I was going to hit that next. I mean, often, players the first year out of their draft year don't necessarily get that opportunity. I mean, there's a ton of talent in Canada. There's a lot of people vying for that for the spot on that team. Tell us about, the camps leading up to that and making the club, and just that experience overall, how that helped you, even just last year with what you ended up accomplishing junior-wise.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of, the process is, they kind of evaluate you up until kind of early December, or late November, and you kind of get, it's a small camp. There's roughly like 2 teams invited, enough players for 2 teams, and I was fortunate enough to get invited to that, and going from there, it's like 2 weeks camp, maybe a week, and you play a couple games, inter-squad games and practices, and it was funny. The last day we went and grabbed lunch, and they said to wait in your rooms, and you'll either get a knock on your door or a phone call, and it was crazy. I was rooming with my teammate Denton Matejchuk, and the coaches came and knocked on our door and told us that we'd made the team, and it was obviously pretty proud moment for both of us, and and then you go from there. You kind of start the grind of traveling to Sweden, and I think we were in Malmo, and playing games and practicing every day, and kind of figuring everything out, all the systems and stuff, and just preparing for a big tournament. And it was a great experience, and didn't get the result that we wanted, but it was a great experience.
Brayden Yager is our guest here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, acquired by the Winnipeg Jets in exchange for Rutger McGroarty. You mentioned Denton Matejchuk. He, of course, is a Manitoba guy, born here in Winnipeg. Your teammate. You guys have done so much great stuff together. What's your relationship with him? And listen, we all know we're all prairie people, but there's something special with that Manitoba-Sask relationship, especially around Labor Day when the Bombers play the Riders. Tell us a little bit about playing with him, the player he was, and how what you guys accomplished together.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a good player, and obviously you see the kind of the accolades that he got this year. He was just a great leader. A guy that kind of looked up to my whole junior career, coming to the rink every day, trying to do little things that he was doing, and trying to get better as he was getting better too. And a great person too, easy guy to hang out with. And obviously playoff MVP, and you saw what he did at the Memorial Cup. He was unbelievable. And I know when he heard about it, he was pretty happy for me. He's obviously from Manitoba, like he said. So we had quite a few guys from Manitoba on our Moose Jaw team, and saying how excited they are. So it's really exciting, and I can't wait to get there.
You mentioned how happy your parents were. I can imagine. I mean, listen, Winnipeg's a heck of a lot closer to Pittsburgh. For you, I mean, as a young player, I'm sure you just want to make the National Hockey League and establish yourself as a player. But now you've had a little bit of time to think about it. How exciting is it for you personally to be a little bit closer to home and play in a market that much like where you grew up, lives, eats, and breathes hockey and Winnipeg Jets hockey here in Manitoba?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, out of 32 teams, you get to be one of the closest ones to home, and I've been pretty fortunate, obviously playing 2 hours away from home in the Dub, and now 7 hours from home, at the next stage, and I think it's pretty fortunate. But like you said, the fans and the excitement in that building, especially come playoff time, is it's got to be one of the best, if not the best, in the league. And I'm hopefully get the chance to wear the jersey sooner than later, and try and make an impact, and be a part of that crazy environment.
Braden, let me ask you, for folks that know of your name but haven't seen you play, if you could describe the type of player you are, and what you'll be bringing to the table and bringing to the Jets organization and the city.
Yeah, I think I like to think of myself as an offensive player, but at the same time, I take a lot of pride in playing both ends of the ice. As a centerman, I take pride in winning faceoffs all over the ice, and taking care of my own end before going and playing offense. So I think that's a big part of my game, is trying to gain my coach's trust, and being able to be put out in any situation of the game. And I think the offense comes as you just got to work hard on the D zone first, and take care of that so you can go have fun and score some goals.
Braden, growing up, was there a player that you sort of tried to model your game after as you were growing up, and even to this day?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid my age, I think it's pretty hard not to love Sidney Crosby. He's one of the best players ever to play, and I think another player, actually growing up in Saskatoon, when the Memorial Cup was hosted there, Nathan McKinnon was on the Halifax Mooseheads, and getting to watch him, and watch him kind of get into the NHL, and kind of liked his game ever since. Obviously, he's one of the best players in the league right now. So two guys that I really liked, and obviously watching Leon Draisaitl and Josh Morrissey on the PA Raiders was pretty special too. So two more guys that I look up to.
Yeah, a few Hart trophies in that list. Not bad guys to pattern your game afterwards.
Yeah.
You mentioned Sidney Crosby. I've got to ask you. I mean, you did go to camp last year. You played in a couple games. I mean, what was that experience like? And in particular, for someone that you kind of grew up idolizing, what was it like being around Sid? And what did you take away from that into your season last year and moving forward into your pro career?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky. Got to kind of be on the same team as Sid on during camp and kind of follow him around, and I think kind of off ice, just trying to do the same things he's doing, because obviously it's been working. So trying to do the same things he's doing, taking care of his body, and seeing the things he does off ice, nutrition and stretching and rolling out after games, getting treatment, and just doing everything you can to be ready for the next skate, or get better than the day he was before. And I think it's just a special player like that you can learn so much from, and I was pretty fortunate to get the opportunity to do that. And obviously been taking lots of notes that I'm gonna kind of keep going with, and use those to my advantage to try and make the Winnipeg Jets.
You had a just an amazing season last year, both individually and as a team, becoming a champion, going to the Mem Cup. With that, makes it a far shorter off season. How's your summer been, and what have you been doing since you played all those games well into June?
Yeah, it's been a short summer, that's for sure. Took a week off and kind of got back in the gym, and then we have a cabin up at Waskesiu Lake. It's like 2.5 hours from here, and I like to golf and fish in the summer, and spend time with the family. And our family got a new dog this summer too, so that's been pretty busy taking care of him. So it's been good.
That being said, I guess we're now getting down to the short strokes of August, and the September's just around the corner. What are your days like right now, as we're just a few weeks away from another NHL training camp?
Yeah, I mean, waking up, going to workout, skating, and pretty similar routine every day. And then spending time with family before I got to go back, and trying to make as many gains as possible to be ready to play against men, and try and set myself up for a great year.
Going into training camp, I mean, how much more prepared, based on the season you had last year, but also going through an NHL training camp and playing in a couple exhibition games, how much more prepared do you think you are for this next NHL camp? And what are your goals going into Jets training camp next month?
Yeah, I think, experience helps everybody, kind of gets rid of some nerves, and you kind of have a little bit of a better idea of what to expect. And I think the goal for me, doesn't really change. I want to make the NHL this year, and I think coming into this summer was kind of the same. I wanted to have a huge summer, and put on weight and get stronger so that I can make the NHL, and that's been the goal. So I think I've had a pretty good summer so far, and just got to have a good training camp.
One other thing, just on your style, you mentioned sort of the style of play and what you focus on. What in your opinion, what are the best assets that you have, and what have you worked on over the last couple of years to get you ready to make it to the bigs?
Yeah, well, first I think as a young player is developing a 200-foot game. It's the NHL's got a lot of good players, and if you come to the league at a young age, you might not fit into the top six. So I think if I can come in and play, if I'm able to play third, fourth line, and be trusted by my coach to play in the D zone, and then work my way up the lineup, I think that's it's a good asset to have. But I think the game really well. I'd say my skating and my shot are also two of my stronger assets, and try to play to my strengths. And I think the biggest thing is being able to play in all situations of the game.
Braden, before we go, I gotta ask you. I mean, in today's day and age, word travels fast. How many text messages since you've been traded have come in on the phone?
Oh, I don't even know. I think like so many from like all the apps. Like there's Snapchat, Instagram messages. It's just like every second. Like even while doing this Zoom call, I'm getting like spammed on like every app. So
the notifications are popping.
Yeah, Yeah, they're going off. So, no, I think I've been pretty good to answer most of them. Obviously, go through that the next couple days, but I think we're gonna go spend the weekend at the lake and go fishing and stuff. So I'll get
off
to those.
the grid. Turn the phone off for a little bit because it's gonna get really busy.
Exactly.
Well, listen, this has been a real pleasure to have you on the program. I'm sure this is the first of many convos we'll have here in Winnipeg on Winnipeg Sports Talk. I do have to ask you one other question as we get ready for next weekend, which is the Labor Day Classic. Being a Saskatchewan guy, have you grown up in green as a diehard Rider fan?
Honestly, no. Like, I have an uncle who's a huge Riders fan, but honestly, I haven't. I don't even think I've been to maybe one Rider game in my life. So, I'm kind of open to anything.
Free agent. Hey, listen, Banjo Bowl's coming up, and we're hoping for big things for a long time for you here in Winnipeg. So we have to ease you into the Bomber side of things as well.
Yeah.
Let's face it, the focus is on the hockey team, and really looking forward to you seeing. I guess not only will there be a rookie camp, but I'm not sure what they did in Pittsburgh, but plans are, I'm sure you'll have a chance to kind of get your feet wet before training camp at the rookie tournament out in Penticton.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It'll be excellent to get a chance to do that, and then get ready to get after it as a Winnipeg Jet. Hey, congratulations. Thank you again for doing this. I can tell you this entire city and fan base can't wait to see you wearing that jersey, and have a great rest of August and early September training for camp, and we'll look forward to seeing you here in the Peg as you begin the new chapter of your career here with the Winnipeg Jets.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me on here. I can't wait to get there.
We'll see you here in the city. Thanks, Braden.
Thank you.
Right on. Well, there it is. Brayden Yager, first appearance as a member of the Jets organization here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Really enjoyed that conversation. For all of you that are with us here live on YouTube right now, I would love to hear your thoughts on first impressions of Braden Yager. Hit us up in the chat with those right now. Now, Hacksaw is going to join us in just a second. But again, thanks again for Braden. And obviously, we wish him lots of luck because most of the people in this chat are going to be cheering him on when he eventually, whether it's this year or in the future, gets to the NHL and puts on that jersey. And I imagine it will feel very right when that happens. Hey, Goldeyes, tough loss last night. They lose the series to Fargo. So they're a half game up on the Redhawks. This is going to be a real tight run through the rest of the season. One more series on the road, and then it's back to take on their final homestand of the season, August 26th, 27th, and 28th, and then a day off, and then the final homestand right through Labor Day weekend from the 30th to the 2nd. If you haven't been out to the Goldeyes yet this year, make sure to get out next week. And fingers crossed, we'll have some home playoff games the following week at Blue Cross Park. Tickets available now at Goldeyes.com. Huge thanks to our friends at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. We had such an amazing time there earlier this month, and I'm counting down the hours or the days, I should say, to get back there next summer. If you're looking for a world-class fly-in fishing experience where you can be on the water in less than a couple hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens is the spot. As amazing as the fishing is, the hospitality from the Turen family and the Aikens team is even better. Find out more at aikenslake.com on any remaining availability this year. Of course, they're booking well into 2025 as well. We're back at the track on Monday. Remus away next week, but we will continue to have some horse picks. By the way, for those of you that have been following all along, I went into a deep slump and was way behind Remus. I've had a monster week, and I'm all over him right now. I'm within scratching distance, and with these additional races in September now, all is not lost. So tune in on Monday. We'll get our picks again. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, live racing, 7:30 p.m. through the rest of the season. And don't forget, if you're planning on heading out there, get a reservation in the clubhouse dining room. Take advantage of that amazing all-you-can-eat prime rib buffet. Let's do a quick Breezy Bend golf report, and then we'll bring in Hacksaw. Manitoba Open's going on right now. The leaders are now at 13 under par. What we're really looking at, though, is where the cut line is going to end. The projected cut line right now is 5 under. That could get to 6 if the birdies keep popping the way that they have been. Key guys that we're paying attention to is 4-time defending amateur champion Braxton Kuntz, who's 4 under through 9 today after a 1 over opening round. He's at 3 under right now. A strong back 9 could have Braxton playing on the weekend. And of course, Dylan Samberg, who had that great opening round of 74, having a bit tougher time today. He's 6 over through 9, but does have a birdie on the card, 42 going out. And as Mike mentioned, he should be good to have the best scores. Barring a blow up on the back 9, could have bragging rights amongst Jets that have done this before. Huge thanks to Breezy Bend for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Heading out there tomorrow. The course is just absolutely mint right now. Had a great time hosting their member guest event last week and speaking with Kevin Cheveldayoff as the keynote speaker. So thanks again to Breezy. Find out more about Breezy Bend and membership options for next year at breezybend.ca. All right. As I said, usually it's not a Friday without marbles. Today, it is a Friday without marbles, unfortunately, but we do have the hacksaw, Lee Hamilton, joining us now. And Lee, we're down to the short strokes, getting ready for football season, but we just had Brayden Yager on a big trade of 14th overall picks for the Jets and Rutger McGroarty going to the Penguins. I know you're all over everything, so this is not news to you.
No, and actually, I read in depth about it late last night. I was kind of impressed, young man. You know, do you bring them out of juniors and think they can get to the NHL, or do you go the college route, send the kid to Notre Dame and let him grow, etc.? So that's fascinating to see where these kids come from. It is weird, though, because I was thinking about this last night after I read about the Jets trade, to think maybe where you guys were 2.5 years ago, and at one point you had Patrick Laine, and at one point you had Pierre-Luc Dubois, and you had Sheffley, and you had all these other guys. I thought, man, you're about to arrive, and now a bunch of them are gone. It's just sometimes deals work out and sometimes deals don't work out, and then you go back to the board and say, okay, how can I replace what I didn't get filled from the last acquisition I made? But, you know, once upon a time, 2.5, 3 years ago, maybe coming out of the playoffs, they thought, wow, Jets have arrived, but guys are scattered to the wind.
Well, I mean, listen, the funny thing is you mentioned those 2 key guys. I mean, Laine and Dubois. Laine was traded for Dubois. Dubois ends up getting traded for an incredible haul for the Winnipeg Jets, and then is an absolute flop in LA and basically gets dumped to the Caps just to get him off the roster. Cheveldayoff has continued to, make trades that help the hockey club sometimes in very difficult situations. This seemed to be one of them. But like with any time you're talking about trading players that have never yet played in the league, give us 4 years and then we can truly evaluate what happened yesterday. Speaking of young players, the rookie QBs have arrived, and we're going to see some rookie QBs starting. And it's not just the number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams in Chi-Town.
Yeah, it's a good topic you put on the table. Caleb Williams, what they're saying in Chicago, this looks like the next coming of Patrick Mahomes. He's been really dynamic, really impressive in the 2 preseason games he has played. I think that this is going to be a better Chicago Bears team than anybody realizes. I think if I'm sitting here right now going to the last week of August, before roster cutdowns, I think Chicago might be the surprise team in the league because this kid can play quarterback, but this kid walks into a team. Normally, when you're a high number 1 pick, you're going to a place like 3 Mile Island where there's nobody left and nothing around. He's going into a team that's got DJ Moore at 1 wide receiver, the big acquisition, the Keenan Allen they'd gotten from the Chargers at another. They've got multiple tight ends, 3 deep at running back, tough guy offensive line, and a defense that doesn't get any credit at all. I think Chicago's got the ability, maybe Hustler, to really be a playoff team and a real surprise offensive team. And you'll have to tell me, when the hell was the last time the Bears had a quarterback who could throw the football down the field? Caleb Williams changes all that.
Yeah, Jay Cutler maybe, but you didn't know where it was going. And incredibly, in the entire history of the Chicago Bears, they've never had a 4,000-yard passer. I think that's going to change, whether it does this year or the following year. They're in a good spot. And then Bo Nix, I mean, he was sort of the most unheralded of the early QBs. Of course, J.J. McCarthy's out for the year in Minnesota, but Nick sounds like he's had a good camp, and Sean Payton's going with the kid right out of the gates in week 1.
Tell you what, this might be Sean Payton's finest work if this kid shows up and does it. I mean, because obviously Sean Payton's influence on Drew Brees when he came from the San Diego Chargers and developed into a superstar and maybe even a Hall of Famer, that was his finest work. But, I watched closely Denver's second game, and Nix went crazy. Nix was 9 of 10 for 90 yards in the first quarter, touchdown pass. They ran the hell out of the ball. Receivers were running precise, crisp routes. Sean Payton's fingerprints are all over his second season in Denver. And they've got everybody who was hurt last year back. So I think the Broncos are a team to be reckoned with. The rap on Bo Nix when he went to Oregon was, oh, yeah, he puts up great numbers, Hustler, but he's a systems quarterback. Well, he's playing Sean Payton's system. He's moving the pocket. He's running the football. He is accurate going downfield. He's unbelievably razor sharp on out patterns along the sidelines. He's done everything. He doesn't look like a first-year, second-game quarterback in the NFL. Now, when they start firing real bullets the second week of September, things will change a little bit. But if they keep everybody healthy, and if this kid is as good as he's shown in preseason, Denver's going to be a surprise team. And Bo Nix, the stage does not appear too big for him. And again, he played at Auburn, and then he played at Oregon. That's about as big time as you can get in college football. And all the pressure was on the quarterbacks to produce there because it was a quarterback-driven offense they had with the Ducks, and prior to that, with the War Eagles in the Southeastern Conference. I'm fascinated to see him out here on the AFC West.
Lee, while we're talking about rookie QBs, I mean, let's move over to some of the veteran QBs. And I mean, there's going to be some tough decisions, I'm sure, on who's starting, who's on the roster around the league when it comes to some guys we're more familiar with in the rookies.
In Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. And he's had some that were on the brink of being losing seasons, and his teams always progressively got better and better as the season wore on. But I don't know that they got a quarterback right now they can trust. Russell Wilson played last week. He was miserable. He looks old. He looks slow. He doesn't move the pocket very well. Now, granted, he had been out with a calf injury. Justin Fields, who came from the Bears, dynamic guy, but just highly erratic. Where are you throwing the ball? Why are you throwing the ball? Aren't you running too much? You're going to get lit up. Those are your two quarterbacks. Now, Pittsburgh, they've rebuilt the offensive front. They've drafted some really good guys there. Got to keep them healthy on the field at the tackle positions the last 2 years. And Pittsburgh can run the football, but in this league now, you got to throw it. I just don't know if Tomlin's got the right mix at quarterback, unless Russell Wilson is going to be just given time to get totally healthy and get indoctrinated into the system. He started slow in Denver for Sean Payton, then it got progressively better and better last year, but he's not the quarterback he used to be back in the day with the Vikings across the state line from you, or what he did obviously for Pete Carroll in Seattle. So I think Pittsburgh's got an issue. The Raiders have named Gardner Minshew, journeyman quarterback. I call him a gunslinger. He's going to be their starting quarterback. It's not that he did an electric amount of work in preseason to beat out Aiden O'Connor, the second-year quarterback out of Purdue. It's just that the Raiders opened the season against the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh's new defense led by his coordinator, Jesse Minter, who came from Michigan. And the Chargers have just shown nothing but being blitz happy in preseason. So I think the Raiders' opinion is we'll start Minshew because he's got more experience. He might be able to handle the blitz better. But the Bolts right now are going to live off going after the quarterback and then their quarterback, Justin Herbert. So that's why the Minshew is the starter. But he's wildly erratic. He's been with 4 different teams. He's played, I went back and checked. I think he's played 49 games. He's thrown 54 touchdowns. He's thrown 24 interceptions. He's fumbled it 30 times, and he's taken 105 sacks. So he's a bit of a gunslinger with a reputation. He'll get the ball down the field. He'll throw some touchdowns, but he's also got the rep. He turns the sucker over a lot. So keep an eye on that as to what the TD pick ratio with him, with the Raiders, is out of the gate. We talked about Bo Nix in Denver. It's a sidebar story there. What are they going to do with the other 2 quarterbacks now that Bo Nix is the starter? Of course, there's some salary cap implications there. For some reason, they gave Jarrett Stidham a multi-year contract last offseason, and he's nothing more than a journeyman. And then they made the deal to take on the contract of Zach Wilson. They're going to eat somebody's contract if they cut one of them. And you can't really, in modern day NFL, you can't carry 3 quarterbacks on your active roster. That really works against your team with injuries and depth and all that. So Sean Payton, once he watches all things Bo Nix, Sean Payton's going to have his hands full as to what he's going to do with quarterback 2, quarterback 3, who stays, who goes. I don't think either one of those guys is really tradable because of the contracts they're carrying. So that's kind of a fascinating story to watch there.
Lee, last year, Patrick Mahomes somehow managed to win the Super Bowl with a receiving group that, while they came around maybe in the second half, did him dirty on a number of occasions. You add Hollywood Brown, you draft Xavier Worthy. I mean, on paper, the receiving room looks a lot better, but what have you seen or hearing about the Chiefs, who've actually had a winless preseason? Not that that's really going to count for anything come week 1 against the Ravens.
Well, it is surprising it went 0-3, and Mahomes just played fragments of some of the games, and it's a look-see at the young guys, and they've drafted a lot of young guys over the last couple of years that have played virtually. That whole defense is virtually all Kansas City draft picks. I've got a high regard for Brett Veach, the general manager, and of course, Andy Reid is vintage Andy Reid, although this will be another year without Eric Bieniemy. But I'd be concerned about the wide receiver core. Xavier Worthy has done a lot of really cool things. He's the draft pick out of the University of Texas. But, Andrew, he's only 160 pounds. Now, he can fly, and maybe their philosophy is you can't hurt a guy if you can't get there to hit him because he's gone. But, boy, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of wicked stuff that goes on when pass receivers catch balls. I just don't know at 160 pounds Xavier Worthy is going to be able to hold up to a 17-game schedule. And I bring that front and center because they got all these other issues here. I mean, Rashee Rice, I got to believe, is going to be suspended by the NFL. I mean, he's had 2 different major arrests. He's got 8 felony traffic counts against him. And usually the NFL's due process says, let the courts handle it, then we'll take action against the player. Well, this has gone on, and he can't plea bargain out of the 8 felonies. I don't think he can. I think he's going to get suspended, so that becomes a big issue. And Hollywood Brown got hurt. You know, he's got what appears to be a fractured clavicle, so that's not going to heal by a week from Monday or the opening week of the season. And they still got Kadarius Toney, your guy, you know, the one that drops passes.
Not my guy.
Runs the right routes and lines up offside. Not my fault, dude. He's still there. Now, maybe he gets cut when we get to Monday and everybody has to chop from 90 down to 53. So to me, they're a little bit wafer thin, but they do have a load of tight ends. They got tight ends who can line up as pseudo wide receivers. So it'll be fascinating to see how long the Rashee Rice situation goes before the league intercedes. And I think he's going to get suspended.
Oh, he's getting suspended for sure. And the question is whether it's this year or going into next season. And I don't know. The suspensions in the NFL are weird. I mean, sometimes guys are going right all the way on the commissioner's exempt list, and others, they wait for the legal process to play out. But, I mean, he's facing 8 felonies, one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. And I know, you know, the Chiefs, and he's working on moving past it, but there will be a penalty to pay for Rashee Rice. Hey, just before we go, we got Connor coming up. He's a big Niner guy, and I know GFL's in the chat representing the Cowboys Nation. Both the Niners and the Cowboys seemingly at a standstill with these contract stands as all holdouts right now. Lee, what is there? Do you expect these to get done before the start of the season, or is this going to be a huge black cloud over both of those franchises as we get to week 1?
It's got to get done. You know, this becomes a distraction in San Francisco. They're kind of loggerheads. John Lynch has met with Brandon Ayuk's people 3 times. They made 3 different offers. I'm led to believe the last offer was $28 million, which was exactly double of what he made last season. And they can't go farther than that because they got to sign Brock Purdy. They've got all these other contract issues in San Francisco, and they need him on the field. They've been unable to trade Deebo Samuel. You know, part of me says that Kyle Shanahan's going to blow his lid pretty quick. We get to opening day, and this thing is not solved, and this guy's still not. He hasn't practiced. Yeah, he's been in the classroom. He's not been on the field. He's done nothing cardio-wise because he's holding in. You know, I wonder if they stand up one morning and say, we've talked enough. You come to camp, you owe us a year. You don't want to come to camp? Fine. That's $813,000 a week in game checks you're going to lose. And just go ask the last 2 guys that held out for a whole year. Le'Veon Bell, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Antonio Brown. How did all that work out? You know, Ayuk's dropping hints to his friends he wants to play for Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. This is kind of nasty. And in Dallas, the Cowboys, I think you and I have chatted about this, historically have always had salary issues, you know, salary cap crunch, and they restructure guys. But the credit card comes due a couple years down the road when you keep doing that for all your star players. CeeDee Lamb, who had 135 receptions last year, I mean, that's a stud season. He wants a pay hike to $33 million right now, and he's got a year left on his contract. And Dak Prescott, and you follow football here, Dak Prescott wants $60 million. Now, there's no doubt that he's a great regular season quarterback. I think his record's 71-49. He wants $60 million per season. His postseason record, Hustler, is 2-5. They haven't accomplished bleep in January and have never gotten to February in Dak Prescott's era. And, you know, Dallas still has to deal with Micah Parsons once they get done with these two guys. So this is really complicated. We're on the clock. Somebody's going to have to draw a line in the sand and ask him, which side of the line are you going to be with us and start the season? You do owe us another contract year. So I think this is going to get kind of nasty before it gets solved.
Well, Lee, I cannot wait for September 5th. Chiefs and Ravens, raise another banner, get ready for the season. We got some fantasy drafts and whatnot before. Really good to finish off the preseason over these next couple days and then get ready for week 1. Loved the show yesterday. Again, folks, Mondays and Thursdays right after WST. We'll send you over to Hacksaw for his show on YouTube. But Lee, what's cooking at LeeHacksawHamilton.com? Your one-stop shop for everything you need in the world of sports.
Well, if you like sports, I write on it every day. It's a phenomenal volume of information. Just give me 5 minutes every morning while you're having your cup of coffee. I'll guarantee you'll know everything that I know and what Hustler needs to know. But I write on it every day, LeeHacksawHamilton.com, and we cover everything, including in-depth coverage of things from the National Hockey League. And then, obviously, my podcast on Mondays and Thursdays. You can check it out. YouTube, it's Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. And if you don't like it, just blame Hustler, because Hustler's the one that introduced me to podcast, and we're raging this side of the border like he's raging to the north side of the border. And, you know, there are not enough hours in the day to cover all this stuff, because I'm in the middle of pennant race coverage with the Dodgers, the Padres, and all things National League West. And we got the NFL and all the free agency in the NBA, and here comes training camps in the NHL. So, man, it's not enough hours in a day. But I'd rather be doing this. I know you said the same thing. You'd rather be doing what you're doing than working in a factory.
Yeah, damn straight. And I'll tell you what, we got a big football game here tonight. Bombers and Ticats. We're doing a little tailgating. Crack one, Lee. It's Beer Friday, as you know. Have a great weekend, and we'll look forward to catching up next week.
Great sports weekend. Thanks, Hustler. Talk to you then. Be well.
There it is, the man himself, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. And again, make sure you go and sub to his YouTube channel and check out everything he's got cooking up over at LeeHacksawHamilton.com. All right, we've had a long show today, but good stuff. Let's get Connor Hrabchak back in, and Connor and I will talk a little, get ready for this game. But first things first, first impressions of Brayden Yager, who joined us for a nice chat a little earlier.
Yeah, I'm laughing because the chat was quite happy that he's not a Rider fan, or at least not like a full Rider fan. People are saying we can
He's a
convert
free
him
agent
to
right now.
the good side. Yes, we're good. We're good. It's okay. So no, but that was a great interview. Well done. He clearly, like, to start the interview too, like, he had a smile that he just couldn't hold back. Like, he's clearly excited to be here and to be close to home, as he said many times. And I appreciate you asking the questions of, you know, what are some of the best assets in his game, or who he models his game after. That'll really help the deep dives. And it helped me understand already before even doing the research, what kind of player he is. So that was a great interview. Very well done, and excited to watch Yager at training camp at Penticton. We're going to see a lot of him over the coming months.
Yeah, like with all the talk about vibes and not feeling right, you know, it certainly made a great first impression. So did Rutger, for that matter. But you kind of get a feeling that this young guy already has a contract, albeit he didn't sign it with Winnipeg. But looking forward to, come and hopefully make the club. And if not, could very well be like one of the top dogs on the World Junior team, potentially even the captain right now. And obviously had an amazing season last year going to the World Jays, but also leading Moose Jaw to a Western Hockey League championship. This has been a crazy week. We talked about, like, in hockey, like, there's been a whole bunch of moves. Yesterday was the trade. Sounds like, once again, we have a trade to announce. Elliot Friedman reporting that Yaroslav Askarov is being traded from Nashville to San Jose. And I guess this is one of those things, be careful what you wish for. He's certainly going to get playing time. I'm not sure he's going to get any playing time in the playoffs anytime soon. But, you know, he was, I believe, 11th overall, has been awesome in Milwaukee the last couple of years. But the writing was sort of on the wall the minute UC Saros signed that deal to extend him basically for the rest of his career. You knew at some point, like, I think they would have been smart to keep him and maybe have him as a backup for a year. But it sounds like San Jose is making a move. And listen, for the Sharks, who are just, scorched earth rebuild right now. They're bringing in Macklin Celebrini. They're bringing in Will Smith this year. To get a really talented young goaltender that could be part of the future core for San Jose, I think makes a lot of sense. Just waiting to hear what the return is on the deal.
Yeah, and we'll have to hear from, the trade request. Why did it not feel right? What went down there? But we'll have to wait and see. But I do like this shot for the Sharks. I do think that, as you said, they're fully rebuilding and they don't have really a goaltender for the future. As we wait and see what the return is, I do really like bringing in a young goalie who's requested a trade, had really high draft capital. Like, this is a calculated risk that they're going to take here. And the upside is that he's a long-term starter for you. And the downside is that you're just still in the same position that you're really in. Obviously, pending a return. I don't know if they overpaid for him or whatever the case may be, but I do really like a younger rebuilding team. It'll match kind of their window. Like, we talk about competitive windows all the time. The Sharks aren't going to be competitive anytime soon, but in the next coming years, when Macklin Celebrini is 23 years old, 24 years old, hitting his stride as an NHL player, and they're looking to be a competitive team, that's when Askarov is going to be in his prime as well. So this matches their window, and it's a calculated shot, and I really like it from the Sharks' perspective.
Well, he's certainly going to have a chance to stop a lot of pucks in San Jose going forward. Yeah, we're still waiting on what the return is on this deal, and like, I'm not sure whether they're going to trade one of their younger players or picks. Askarov was 11th overall. He's arguably the number one goaltender outside of the National Hockey League. Certainly rated incredibly highly. Still very young, very bright future. But the value of a San Jose first round pick right now would be massive. So I'm not sure whether it's a combination of multiple picks, like second rounders or more. But Mike Greer's got to be careful because certainly for the next couple years, seemingly that San Jose pick is probably going to be a lottery pick and could be very, very high. But Askarov, quite a stud. So that's the word right now. Yaroslav Askarov on the move in a trade from Nashville to San Jose, per Elliot Friedman. No word on the return just yet. All right, listen, before we go, let's get to the cool bet lines for tonight. And the latest on the Blue Bombers is 10.5 points. And this is interesting. As I said, it's open at 7.5. On Monday, we said, get on this right now because it's not going the other way. Yeah. It went to 10, back to 9.5, and now it's settled at 10.5. People obviously assuming the Bombers are going to win tonight, minus 588 on the money line, where the Ticats are plus 415. We've kind of talked about this game a little earlier, but this is a time when, just like we said with Ed, they got to go out, take care of business, and hopefully, particularly offensively, Connor, take a step forward so they can be hitting on all cylinders when they're really going to need it against a very tough Rider defense next weekend in Regina.
Yeah, absolutely. And 10.5, again, if you think the offensive explosion is coming and you believe that they'll be able to finish off some drives tonight with how the defense is playing, they should still be able to cover that. I like the number more at 9.5, just so you get that little extra cushion. But again, I said it off the top of the show, the offense needs to start putting up some points, because going into the Labor Day Banjo Bowl, Saskatchewan's defense had the Bombers offense, struggling a few weeks ago. Lots of fumbles in that game. They arguably didn't help themselves at all, but the offense has been keeping the ball on schedule. Brady Oliveira's looking better. Zach Collaros is looking better. Kenny Lawler's back. the only guy you're really missing right now is Dalton Schoen. And this is the game where it's Hamilton. They have one of the worst defenses. You're at home. It's a sellout. You're favored by more than 10 points. Like, if it's not now, I don't know when it will be. And it definitely won't be on the Labor Day Banjo Bowl weekend if it's not tonight. So I'm really watching the offense tonight. The defense, they've proven over the last 2 weeks that they can play at a super high level. I'll be looking for them to continue that. But the offense has my attention tonight, because if they struggle, it's there's going to be a lot of questions when we come back to this show on Monday.
Well, I mean, and the one thing, Ed, we'll see how things look without a lot of Adam Bighill. But
Yes.
Jordan Yager, as I mentioned with Ed, your first star a couple weeks ago, he's done such a great job in moving these guys around, giving different looks. I'd like to see a pick prop for Bo Levi tonight, because we know the sticky fingers of that Bomber secondary, and the difficulties it's given opposing quarterbacks with the different looks from Jordan Yager. I think my favorite play tonight from this game is Brady over 85.5 yards. I mean, he went for, I think, 78 on 10 carries last week against BC. I do think the Bombers get up, and Brady's a guy, like, with a sold-out crowd, he's going to want to be banging his helmet, moving the chains. And that is, in a lot of ways, the foundation of the Blue Bombers offense. The O-line's really stepped up. They were the number 1 rated O-line in last week's action. So keep that going. I'm hammering Brady over 85.5. The Zach Caleros passing number is 285.5. I'm actually thinking under for that one. As much as we want to see this big air game, listen, I think they play by the script. We know how the Bombers handle leads, move the chains. I'd love to get a time of possession prop. Think of what they did to BC 2 weeks ago with that 42 minutes. Probably won't get there, but I do think the Bombers control that. And listen, don't turn the football over. Take care of your business. Get to 5-6, a half game out of first place in the West. And again, that was a preposterous thought a few weeks ago. It is reality right now. And listen, get this win. There'll be a half game separating the Bombers and Riders for Labor Day. Bring it on. The other CFL games, BC is basically a pick 'em. BC's -114, Ottawa's -106. That one's sort of trending towards a true pick 'em. BC, if you do want to bet the spread, is a 1-point favorite. And the Elks in Montreal, this one was 6.5. It went to 6. Now it's at 7. So if you do like Edmonton, now's a good time to jump in on it, getting +7 right now over at Coolbet. One other thing that's popped up right now, and again, we'll do maybe next week, Connor, we can dive into this a little bit more, but all the NHL season props are out right now. The Oilers are the Stanley Cup favorite at Coolbet at +680. The Florida Panthers, the defending champs, are next at +750. The Canadian teams listed. Well, here, I'll go down and give you first of all, the teams in the Central. Dallas is 12-1. The Avalanche are 14-1. The book loves the Predators now after all their massive signings on July 1st. They're 18-1. The Jets 25-1. The Blues 40-1. Wild 40-1. And I guess we have to remember that the Utah Hockey Club is also in our division right now. 66-1 for the Artists, formerly known as the Coyotes. As far as the other Canadian teams, Habs the longest shot at 80-1. Habs 80-1, Flames 66-1, Ottawa 35, Jets 25-1, Canucks 22-1, Maple Leafs 16-1. They've also got props up for the Norris Trophy, the Vezina Trophy. Connor Hrabchak in a 3-way tie for the lowest odds at 7-1, along with Shesterkin and Jeremy Swayman. Odds to win all the divisions. Jets are 7-1 to win the Central this year. Total on over-under points. What's the Jets' point total? 96.5 is where they have. So over would be 97 or more. And then, of course, Calder Trophy, Hart Trophy, and all the divisions as well. So if you want to jump on those lines now that they're just out, get on over to Coolbet. And don't forget, if you're a UFC fan, if you go to Coolbet, you put a $25 bet on any of the fights on UFC, you'll get a free $25 bet on Monday to bet as you like in the sports book. It's all there at CoolBet. Check out the Lock Shop Daily at noon before WST over on the Edmonton Sports Talk channel. And if you haven't played a CoolBet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200. That is just about going to do it for us. We've got to get to a football game tonight. What are you doing before? A little tailgate action with the crew?
Yeah, a little tailgate pregame. Going to be heading to the Princess Auto tailgate as well before the game. I do the tailgate at home, or the pregame at home, and then to the game. But super excited. Sellout crowd, 28
Awesome.
degrees and sunny. Friday night in August. Let's hope for a game where we're all singing Sweet Caroline in the fourth quarter as the Bombers are up 30.
Yeah, no doubt. And listen, take care of business tonight, and then we get ready to roll next week to Regina. We'll have tons on the Bomber Rider matchup next week, and of course, more on the acquisition of Brayden Yager. We'll look forward to bringing on, a few of the scouts that have, talked about, been following these young players. Find out more about the young man. But again, if you popped in late, we had Brayden Yager on a little earlier. Great first impression. Really enjoyed having him on the program, and we appreciate it. Huge thanks to Hacksaw, Mike McIntyre, Ed Tait, Brayden Yager, of course, Connor Hrabchak, and a big thanks to Sarah, who in Michael Remus's absence has done an absolutely bang-up job getting us, navigating us through today. Again, apologies about no marble race. We will make it up to you next week. We should be good to go again for Friday, but maybe even an additional one at some point next week if the fellows that are working with us can make that happen. But Connor, great week. We'll look forward to WST Weekly on Monday morning, and hopefully talking about the Bombers' continued climb in the standings and a look ahead to Labor Day weekend. Of course, a huge weekend for the Fish as well as they battle for first place in the American Association. That's going to do it for us, gang. Thanks again to Sarah. Thank you to all of our sponsors that make this show happen each and every day. Have a great one tonight. Mix in a water. And maybe we'll see you tonight at Princess Auto Stadium. If not, we'll catch you on Monday right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great weekend.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.